It's Monday, the 7th of October 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's go. Story number 1, the Australian IPO market is struggling with listings at their weakest pace in 15 years, in part because of all the private money soaking up assets.
The value of new equity raised from ASX initial public offerings in the first 9 months of this year was just $720 million, the weakest since 2012, according to data compiled by Dealogic for the Australian Financial Review. The number of floats, 15, in the 9 months to the end of September, is the lowest since the global financial crisis in 2009. Guzman y Gomez is the highest profile IPO this year, but it only raised $335 million. Retail investors, in fact, didn't get any of that. They had to wait for it to hit the market to buy in. What's happening is that there's a flood of private money buying up assets. Big super funds, for example, are not just buying things on the ASX, they're buying companies before they even make it to the ASX. For example, earlier this month, Blackstone bought local data center operator AirTrunk for $23.5 billion.
Is it going to get any better, Sean?
Trend is not your friend, Michael, at least in this instance, though there are 7 companies scheduled to float on the ASX this month. Mind you, some of them have already delayed floating previously. Certainly there's nothing big in the pipeline. If you ignore the listed investment trust, the biggest raising scheduled this month, there's 2 for $20 million, a lithium group and a mineral sands group. This is partly a result of the growth of the big investors. So the private equity guys and funds like Aussie Super and the Australian Retirement Trust buying companies rather than investing in the ASX.
All right, moving on to story number 2 now. And US jobs data released over the weekend shows that the world's largest economy remains resilient, Sean, and that sent Wall Street higher.
Incredible. The US economy is supposed to be slowing down. Well, I mean, it is slowing down, but it's just not falling into a heap, which is great news. For last week, Wall Street closed up, in fact. European shares were off more than 2%. Japanese shares were down about 3%. Oil's big issue, though. It continues to rise with what's going on in the Middle East. Brent crude jumped to more than $78 a barrel over the weekend. For most of us, what's it mean for petrol prices? Best place to go is the ACCC. It tells you what's happening in the petrol price cycle in your city. In Sydney and Adelaide, prices are on an upswing. In Melbourne, prices are near their bottom. Brisbane prices are close to a peak, while Perth prices are on the way down. Iron ore prices have continued their strong run, back to about $108 a tonne, and the Aussie dollar has slipped below 68 US cents.
Story number 3, largely peaceful pro-Palestinian rallies were held in Melbourne and Sydney yesterday and Jewish vigils last night, ahead of today's 1-year anniversary of Hamas's invasion of Israel.
One person was arrested in New South Wales for carrying an Israeli flag, which included a Nazi swastika rather than a Star of David, and 4 in Melbourne for public order-related matters. An estimated 7,000 people marched in Melbourne, 10,000 in Sydney. Unauthorised events are scheduled for today as well. Broadly, banned flags and symbols were not in evidence at the rally. At the rallies, some protesters held up Palestinian flags while others flew the Lebanese flag. A small number hoisted banners with similar colours to the Hezbollah flag, but without the terrorist organisation's official symbol.
Story number 4, Sean. Last week, we heard that Qatar Airways was buying 25% of Virgin, upping the stakes against Qantas, but the national carrier has hit back where it counts, Sean. It's all about food. Almost 70 new items are set to join the Qantas menu for domestic flights.
Qantas is rolling out a refreshed dining experience throughout this month. It also likes to continually tell us that it's the only domestic airline to offer complimentary food and beverages and Wi-Fi in economy. So true. Among the new additions in economy class are, Michael, all for you, macadamia granola slice, farmhouse crackers with whipped feta dip and carrots, focaccia with chorizo, pesto and ball peppers, cottage cheese and spinach samosas, and of course the triple choc brownie cookie. For other listeners, but not you, Michael, i.e. business class travellers, smoked salmon bagels, miso glazed chicken salad, dark chocolate, sour cherry fondant.
Mouth-watering. You kind of lost your train of thought.
I did. I forgot where I was.
You were lost on the fondant, which
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I do like your dig that I will never... I could steal someone else's leftover salmon bagel
Maybe you could.
as I'm walking past the business class seats to get to economy. Last story, Sean. Story number 5. Someone who is never flying in economy. Mark Zuckerberg became the world's second richest person for the first time late last week, jumping ahead of Jeff Bezos as shares of Meta platforms continue to climb.
Zuckerberg's bet on the metaverse, which initially looked like a huge bust, has paid off in recent months, pushing his net worth to a high watermark of over $206 billion according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. That puts him about $1 billion ahead of Amazon's Bezos. He's still about $50 billion behind Tesla's Elon Musk. Meta shares have risen 23% since reporting better than expected results in the second quarter. Over the weekend, they closed at an all-time high. Zuckerberg, who owns a 13% stake in the company, has seen his fortune grow by $78 billion just in 2024, by far the most of any of the world's 500 richest people, tracked by the Bloomberg Index.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. There we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Monday, the 7th of October, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, then you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. And most of the country is on a public holiday today. So if you're after some good public holiday listening, check out the new episode of our other podcast, The Property Pendulum, brought to you by Fear and Greed and Domain. This week's episode, all about renovations. How much should you be spending on renovations to make sure that you get the best bang for your buck? I'll put a link in today's show notes. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.